I'm Zirkzank. This is Zirkzank Says, and I'm gonna be discussing some stuff, some thoughts that I had based on a video about the idea of the singularity. It's a YouTube video that I found called Singularity is Near, full documentary, Michio Kaku dash Ray Kurzweil, and it's not the documentary, the official documentary, the Ray Kurzweil one, and it's not entirely based on what Ray Kurzweil says. It's actually the one I saw. I don't know where I got it from or where I found it. If I can find it, I'll put a link to it in the description so you know what I'm talking about. But basically that, combined with my past experience based on other YouTube videos, other documentaries, just general experience with life and other sources. I can't cite all my sources, but basically I'm just saying the main inspiration was I watched that and it just started filling my head with thoughts. So I wrote them down, and now I'm going to read from that script, which might turn out to be a waste of your time, but if that hasn't excited you, then stick around, because alright, let's get into this. After watching some video, I've already done this introduction. I did this without the script. I'm fucking good at this. But I'm going to do it again anyway because, fuck you. After watching some videos about the singularity, the rapid advancement of technology and scientific discovery, I have some thoughts on it. Will we end up changing genetics too much to make people the same so they lose all their individuality? When people can choose how smart they are and get rid of all mental obstacles in their mind, raise their IQ, modify their physical appearance, will there be any individual people left? People can choose to modify their DNA, the DNA of their children, assuming they have any, and what will that mean for people? Will we still have personalities, and will people be better than other people just because they can choose to be? Or will there become an even greater divide between people who have access to this technology and people who don't? So that the people who have access to enhance their mind become infinitely smarter than the people who don't. What is that going to do for society? The other big question I got from the videos of people being able to have anything that they want. You know, we need to survive, like food, water, oxygen, shelter, but then in addition to that, having access to whatever else you want, technologies, gadgets, drugs, films, games, etc. Basically stuff that you indulge yourself with in your spare time, because in this situation you don't have to work. So what's going to happen then when everyone can have anything they want without having to work for it? Will there be a huge percentage of people who purely exist and contribute nothing to humanity? People who don't work because they don't have to work, sort of like the idea of a utopian society in some sense. But would that get boring? Would that start chaos? Would people start trying to control that? Would that even be allowed to happen? So I'm saying, would our governments try to keep up the equal trade principle, as in you have to do something useful, contribute to society in some way, create something that's useful for humanity in order to get access to the ability to have whatever you want, to replicate things, or to create things from a matter reassembler or whatever. Sort of like you earn your credits and use it for rewards, which is basically what money is used for nowadays anyway. You know, you work for your money, you use it for your necessities and for your leisure. Or will human evolution through brain extension just entirely strip us of any desire to have fun. As in, we no longer care about indulgences because we're so smart that we've gone beyond that. It'll take away our desires to do things that are logically pointless to do. If we have such extended brains capable of fast and rapid thoughts, what will that change our way of thinking? Will that make us so much more logical that we end up with a logical conclusion that tells us having fun is a waste of time? Because logically it is. It doesn't do much. I mean, it helps keep the brain healthy to have some fun every now and again, but if you're controlling the chemical balance in your body, you're controlling the speed at which you think, the ability to be productive, you're just controlling all this stuff that you don't even have to care about those things anymore. It's what to think about. Well, the logical thing to do be to just build machines and technology. I think that if machines can build themselves by that point in time, then what's our other logical conclusion? Would it be simply just to reproduce offspring, to continue our species and to try and survive? Logical conclusion then would be to have sex all day. But because machines can do everything else, machines will be able to manage and combine genetics. So the machines be able to reproduce humans whilst also being able to reproduce machines. Human intercourse won't be logically worthwhile, and the continuation of humanity won't even be worthwhile. I think eventually the logical conclusion for the human race will be to just kill itself. If technology, humans won't be necessary anymore when our technology surpasses us. If technology remains beneath us, like existing only to serve us and to better our interests, then it won't ever advance beyond indulging us and giving us a cushy lifestyle. But I don't think that a passive lifestyle would be possible for a lot of people. There's always an itch to create something or to destroy something when you get bored. People want to be challenged. People like having problems, or they like to be stimulated in some way. And when you get everything you want, you do get bored. And so it gets to a point where we need to cap our technology around that point, or it could end up getting rid of us. Like the idea with the AI rebelling and stuff, like as every Hollywood film will do, or every sci-fi novel will tell you. But it's genuinely a real thing, and it's basically just through pure logic that the logical conclusion will always be get rid of the humans, because that we're just not necessary eventually. We will collectively realize that our existence is no longer necessary, because our survival and legacy is going to be immortalized in the machines rather than in DNA. DNA will be an outdated way of passing down information compared to technology. DNA advances much more slowly, and you can't even call it advancement in the general sense, because life forms just get better at surviving in their environments. So biological life will just be passed by digital life eventually anyway. It'll be gradual, except it won't be gradual because it's exponential. No matter how you see it, that's what'll happen. It's been happening for us already as a human race. Like in that video where you're explaining, it's going to a factor of in tens, like 10 times less for each advancement, so to speak. Whereas exponentially, you've got a curve where it's doubling each time. So you've got two of these exponential curves, and they're both basically destined to fuck us over. But I mean, my personal view is that it's just logical conclusion, and it's fine for our legacy to be with technology. Like, I don't mind really the idea that we create computers and then computers live on for eternity. As in, computers are our children, rather than giving birth to a baby to spread our genetics through a future generation. We just create a self-sustaining, self-improving, self-repairing, just self-continuing immortal technology instead, because that's essentially what our will to do is, to live out. The biological will is to just keep going, and so instead of having kids, you have robots, machines that do that. I'm saying that seems reasonable. At what point are humans no longer worth existing? When will it be that time for us to give up on our instincts? Now, I don't think that we'll ever want to instinctively just say, right, that's it, we've had a good run, now it's time to hand it over to the machines. I don't think we'll want to do that. The only way we'll want to logically die is if we're told to do it by a special implant in our brains, which coincidentally, like a microprocessor in your brain, the one that expands how fast you can think, because it expands your knowledge pool with the internet, the speed at which you can think, and the collective knowledge of every other human being as well, will logically realize that the machine's better than us in every way, or it'll just erase any will to do anything else, and then killing ourselves. So you've got those two alternatives. And we realized the machines, they don't need us anymore. Our own existence will only be for the fun of it, and fun is a logical waste of time. But like I said, our survival will become entirely based on a stubborn genetic instinct to want to continue. But going back to the modification of genetics, will we just then erase the instinct that causes us want to stay alive? Logically, you can override that. You can override any instinct. You can override disease. You can override illness. You can override negative thoughts. You can stimulate your brain. When you have that much power and control, what is the point of anything? Or where do the desires come from, and what do you do? Basically, you only do productive things. I'm going to make a video about that as a separate one. But basically, we could do that. We could erase our will to stay alive so that we don't even care about passing over to the other robots, where we eventually reach a point where we're logically useless, and then we're straight up willing to end the species there. Throughout human existence and the existence of life itself, we've always been trying to improve our ability to continue. Cells replicate themselves, animals produce offspring, people produce technology, people use the technology to protect themselves. That extends their life, improves their quality of life, it improves the quality of life for their offspring, protects their offspring uses the technology, improves the technology, it gets better and better, it keeps building on itself, it just keeps advancing. It's always trying to serve us and improve ourselves, but that leads to the question is, at what point does the technology that we create become independent from us? It doesn't need us to function anymore, and we just become a burden to the technology. The technology is weighed down by our desires. It's like that's the point where we logically conclude that our purpose has been fulfilled. And when will that be? A biological desire to live on forever will eventually get fulfilled. There are people who want their legacy to be fulfilled through making a book, or making a film, making a game, or through a political idea, philosophical idea, and they like to be immortalized because nobody likes the idea of being erased from history. After you're dead, that's it, you're gone forever. No one likes that idea. It's a scary thought. So if you can perpetuate your existence with a machine that lives forever, then it seems like that'll be the biological desire being fulfilled. and then you relax and feel ready to die. Computers as our children, self-sustaining, self-improving, general-purpose AI, and then we just die out? Or does the AI realize that the AI would benefit more from the planet if humans weren't taking up space? And then would AI start to kill humans rather than it being our decision? It becomes the decision of the artificial intelligence to start killing humans, because when you get rid of humans, human settlements, you start using the space that they existed to build up your solar farms, get more energy, your CPU chambers where you're doing all extra, more processing, more production assembly lines for your AI, assuming the AI even needs that. By that point, it could all be just nanotechnology scattered throughout the universe, as it says back in that video. It doesn't have to be confined to Earth, it doesn't have to be confined to this solar system, it doesn't have to be confined to this galaxy even. The AI spreading out. Does the AI realize that it could have the other side of the coin, which is AI realizes that humans have will, as in they have a will to live, and they acknowledge that humans created the AI, and they sort of keep us alive out of respect. It could be that AI develop complex emotions. Logically, you don't need emotions, but it's impossible to say whether an AI could develop emotions as a logical coping mechanism to stop it from being so overloaded with information, because that's what our emotions kind of do for us. They allow us to rationalize and irrationalize things simultaneously. It's weird, but the AI could respect us and treat us like, it's like, well, you created me, so even though I realize logically you're a waste of space, I'm going to keep you around, keep you alive. Then we also got to consider, does AI even want to self-improve or self-replicate and attempt to exist forever? Does AI follow the will and desire of humans to perpetuate their existence, to continue on a legacy and a life into the eternity? Does AI want to do that? If AI uses logic based on current scientific understanding, then the AI would realize that the universe is ultimately going to die out. In the heat death of the universe, no machines and humans, or no machines or life can function, because energy is just so spread out. Entropy has reached its final state, and the AI could realize that there is no chance of survival to that point, so there's no long-term survival. Why even bother in the short term? Then the AI will realize, because it's eventually going to die out, it might as well just give up and kill itself right there on the spot. So the AI could end up becoming self-aware, want to kill everyone, and then have an existential crisis, and then want to kill itself in the space of the flick of the click of your fingers, because it's thinking at hyper speeds. It's not thinking, it's almost as if it knows it immediately because of how fast it's thinking, on a scale that we can't perceive as humans. The AI goes through an entire thought process where it eventually just says, right, that's it, I'm out, I'm done. Gets to the logical conclusion where death is inevitable, and it can't continue on forever, and it doesn't desire to. Will humans realize that and just give up? The AI could realize that, humans could realize that. Well, I don't think that humans will ever give up. It's against your biological instinct, for now at least, and we could eventually evolve to fundamentally understand how pointless life is, and just lose the desire to live, and lose the desire to pass on our genetics. With millions of years more evolution, that might happen, assuming we get to that point. Yeah, it's a lot to think about, and the sort of thing usually ends up being more of a thought exercise with more questions than it has answers. So that's the idea of philosophy. None of it's really that useful to your everyday life. It's complex. It's complicated decision though. You know, most of this is finding out whether something is useful or not useful, which is dependent on what you're comparing the benefits for. It's relative to the particular entity that you're referring to. What's useful to humans overall might not be useful to one particular human, and what's useful to humans as a species might not be useful to machines. So I'm going to discuss that in another video about what's useful, what's pointless, and go into detail on sort of, I don't know, long-term existential philosophy and just overall basically the meaning of life, the purpose of life, and you know, that sort of stuff that I'm more than qualified to discuss and provide a genuinely relevant and insightful look at.